Hi Clermont, I'm Alison Strange, and I wanted to go over yesterday's budget workshop with you. Yesterday was an exciting day where we addressed the 5 core principles that we have been talking about in the budget workshops. 1, how can we reduce the cost of living for our citizens? Let's put together a 5 to 20-year sustainable plan. How can we attract high-paying jobs and have an economic development for our community? And then controlling the controllables while embracing opportunities that we might have. Finally, evaluating every decision for how it affects our citizens' quality of life. So yesterday, the first thing we did was we started with Parks and Recreation. A pleasant surprise was we had a visit by the president and CEO of the American Bicycle Association. He came in and shared with us some really exciting opportunities that he sees for the city of Clermont. Now, he brings to the table a lot of experience that far exceeds just cycling. If you want to learn more about what he said or see what he said or learn more about him, his name is Shane Fernandez, and he spoke at the very beginning of yesterday's workshop. It was a wonderful experience. I encourage you to check it out. Resulting from that was the City Council decided to hire the American Bicycle Association to do an asset inventory, evaluation, and assessment of all of our parks and recreation in Clermont. So I'm excited to see that. We can move forward with it immediately, and I think that you're going to see that right away. Mr. Foreman already had in his budget some consulting fees. We did increase that so that we could make sure that we included not only an evaluation of our Parks and Recreation, but also the Arts and Recreation Center. Related to the Arts and Recreation Center, I'm happy to report that Mr. Foreman has figured out how to reduce our losses on that building by $1 million a year. In some cases, it's closer to 2, and he was able to get that down to 1. I'm very comfortable with the changes that he's made and the approach that he's taken over the last 6 months, and I'm willing to give him another 6 months to keep doing what he's doing while we get that assessment done. And I suspect that when that assessment comes in, he's going to already be on the right track, and we'll just have a nice, smooth transition into the most incredible recreation and arts program in all of Central Florida. So I'm excited to see that. And I mean what I said. Related to all of that, we did earmark several $1 million from our general fund reserve. And I'll remind you that we do have $16 million in our general fund reserve that we do have to figure out what to do with. So far, the only significant expenses that we have allocated from that fund is the improvements to East Avenue for Public Works and the fire transport EMS plan, which I still think is not going to end up resulting in a loss. So we're going to see how that works out over the next couple of weeks. We do know that East Avenue will need to come out of the general reserves. There's one other thing that might come out of there, which relates to the police vehicles that have historically come out of our infrastructure fund. And we are making an effort to no longer follow that practice and continue and use instead the infrastructure fund for transportation, roads, streets, sidewalks, things like that. So far, we really don't have much of that $16 million allocated, and it's not burning a hole in my pocket, so don't start to panic. But we do have it, and it has been paid. So we earmarked about $4 million to be able to use for parks and recreation projects, pending the outcome of the ABA evaluation, which will take 4 to 6 months. So we're going to see how that one plays out, but know that that's what was going on. Everything from Bishop Field to Lake Felter Park to multiple tennis and basketball courts throughout town. I mean, it really was spread out. It wasn't just one big project. So I'm happy to keep that on the books for the time being until we get into the final budget decision-making process. After that, we had planning and zoning, and overall planning and zoning has reduced their budget, but we asked them to add into their budget $1.5 million for a comprehensive plan. That will be broken out into 2 parts. One is the northwest quadrant of the city, which already has a master plan. So we're hoping to get a code on top of that as soon as possible, while the firm or firms do the comprehensive plan for the rest of the city and then give a final form-based code or appropriate code for the rest of the city. And it might be different. I will say that Dan Mathis, our deputy city manager, did a great job explaining all of that to us yesterday, and I was very pleased with his explanation and suggestions. After that, we talked about HR. If you saw my post from the weekend, you saw that we're spending approximately $9 million on health insurance. At least that's what the budget calls for. I think that there's room there. As I said a couple times yesterday, I'm not looking for drastic changes, but you start talking $9 million and typically you can find 5 to 10%. So if we could find 5 to 10%, that's close to $1 million. And I think it's worth exploring that. Our HR director agrees, and she was already on it. So we're going to see some different numbers come out on the health insurance plan, or at least different plans and quality of services. I would say around early September is my guess. Could be mid-September. So those were the big ones. Building services cut their budget. We're cool with that. It wasn't a lot, but it was a good faith effort to help us in our effort to reduce the millage. So I appreciate that. And then there was some conversation about the millage at the end of the meeting. I'm going to end this video on that note to let you know that I'm actually putting together a pretty comprehensive video to show how we can reduce the millage. Because I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a question of how can we spend all this money and reduce the millage? And I will tell you, there is an answer to that. So I'll be working on that over the next couple days, and I'll get that out as soon as I can. And I'm also going to do a video on the CRA, because there are some opportunities there that I think you want to be aware of. And they did come up yesterday. So if you want to know about any of those things, feel free to watch the video from yesterday. It was 9 until about 4:30, but you're welcome to do that, of course. But I will be doing some summary videos. So hopefully this has been helpful. Please feel free to follow my Facebook page and ask any questions there. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that you find that you're able to better keep up with our multi-day workshops with these few-minute videos. So I'll talk to you soon, and don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have them. Thank you.